Hey everybody! What's up? I hope you're ready to talk about spirituality and owning your spiritual gifts. Hey guys, what's up? Hey! Hey, move with mystery. Hey guys. Hey, we're just waiting for Elizabeth to join us. I'm so excited about this live. If you guys have any questions about like discovering your spiritual gifts or working with your spiritual gifts, or if you're in the spiritual business world, if you have any questions about that, it's going to be an amazing time and opportunity to ask her. She is absolutely incredible and she's super young. I think she's like in her mid-20s and she already has like a full-blown spiritual business and is helping so many people. So hopefully she will join us shortly. Tell me where you guys are from. Tell me what's going on while I wait for her. Oh, hey. Okay, no worries, girl. Let me let you in. Elizabeth, check your settings. Elizabeth, check your settings because I can't add you. If you go, you should see like in the comments when you first joined, it should be able to like click on the thing. It says add. Okay. Oh, there we go. Awesome. Tech is funny, guys. Who else has tech issues? Oh, we did it! Hey, oh my God, you always look gorgeous. Like I
Thank you.
I'm like,
Thank you,
like,
Gabby.
no makeup. You look like a fucking goddess.
Thank you. No, you look like a goddess too. Stop.
I'll take it. Oh my God, Elizabeth, it's so good to see you. I miss you so much. I feel like I don't get to see you every other week in Ignite, and I'm like really sad about that.
I know. It was a long program, and it was amazing connecting and really building strong connections. So I miss it too. I definitely miss it too.
Yeah, but definitely the group vibe is like is really, really awesome. But first of all, let's just like introduce you for those of you who don't. Obviously, a lot of people know who you are, so I think everybody knows who you are. But just in case you don't, tell us who you are, what your handle is, what you do. Yeah, all about it.
Yeah. So hi everybody. My name is Elizabeth. I am your spiritual mermaid on Instagram, on yourspiritualmermaid.com. So I'm a spiritual diviner. So I'm a divine channel. So that means that I don't use tarot. I don't use many tools except simple oracle cards or sometimes playing cards. And most of what I get for people is through meditation and through channeling. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride. It's a lot of trust to
I can't even imagine. I'm like, I want to talk really about like all of that, which is like how, like, let's talk about if you're someone who's like exploring spiritual gifts, if you're an empath, if you're a healer, if you are, oh, hey, Jenny, she said, we have the best energy. I'm feeling it. Oh,
thank you, Jenny.
But I think you bring up a good point. And I'd love to talk about like what it's like to discover that you have spiritual gifts in a world that's like, oh my God, like that's crazy, or that's not a real thing, or that's like whatever people have to say about it because of fear, or because of not understanding, or whatever it is.
Right.
Like, what was your journey into coming into your gifts and then really owning it in a way that you're like out there in public, really shining and giving people just incredible guidance? Your lives are insane. Like your lives.
Thank you, Gabby.
Incredible.
Thank you. I mean, coming into your gifts is a weird thing because, like how you said, our society doesn't really nurture that. I was really, really, really fortunate, and I thank God every day that my mom raised me really spiritual. So I'm sure a lot of y'all know who've been following me, but my mom started taking us to Buddhist temple when I was in middle school instead of Catholic church. And so I kind of grew up in that setting. I kind of grew up going to retreats and things like that and really diving into meditation at a younger age. As far as my spiritual gifts, first of all, I believe that everybody has spiritual gifts.
Mm.
I think that everyone does. I think
Yeah.
that we're all spiritual beings living a temporary human experience, and all that really involves with like coming into your gifts is remembering your gifts.
Mm.
So I would say really like how to step into that would be through meditation. Meditation is so essential, and I did a whole like series on Patreon breaking down different kinds of meditation, like how to really meditate and things like that, because that's so essential to really developing things. Because meditation is so important, because in our society we're just taught to go 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 all the time. And when you actually have the time to sit down and really look at yourself and really sit with yourself, that's when these things start to come up.
Yeah.
And that's when these things start to be revealed to you.
Yeah.
So as far as, how to step into your spiritual gifts is, first of all, get to know yourself.
Mm.
Get to know yourself. What are you good at?
Yes, people, you are not that disconnected from source, from spirit, from God, from the universe. It literally lives within your DNA. Like, you can access that at any time, and you can make it whatever you want it to be.
Exactly. So all you have to do, like how you said, Gabby, is really tap into your own DNA, your own self, like really get to know yourself. So me, like, I think that it was easy for me to step into my gifts because I've always been a super talkative child, always asking questions, always talking. I'm the kind of person in conversation, it's hard for me to not finish somebody else's sentence. So it's like, yeah.
I think people like hate me, and then they're like, "But you're right," so they can't really.
I know. I've been trying to, I don't want to annoy people, but so knowing that and knowing that I have a gift through communication, it was really easy for me to really talk and to really get to know that side of like my spiritual self through channeling. And so I used to do like readings, like written readings and things like that, but I've come to understand like I'm so good with my gift because I'm able to really channel and talk things out loud. And then through meditation, you're able to hear spirit, you're able to hear source. And through that, you're able to really speak what you're hearing from source. And that is how I do my readings. So yeah, you really just have to get to know yourself. Even if it's something, if you're really good, I have a lot of clients who are really good at automatic writing, automatic drawing and things like that. If you've been good at that, if you've been good at drawing, if you've been good at, writing, if that makes you happy, then that is probably the avenue that you should go on. And I say, my biggest advice to people who are coming into this is to not look at anyone else. You have to truly get to know yourself, get to know what you're good at, okay? And then you move forward from that, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really what that is.
Lexi, I gotta shout out Lexi. She's one of my students. She also, and Marissa, hey guys. Oh my God, I'm getting nice students in here. But she was really excited about this because she said a comment like when she talks, she channels, and and she says, so I always record myself when I really need to advise myself. I love that. I love that.
Exactly. That's perfect. That's a perfect example of what we're doing here. And all you got to do is meditate and really learn to dissociate the voice of yourself, your higher self, and spirit. And then when you start to really tap in and know which one is which, that's when it all comes through.
It's crazy. Yeah. And like I come from a background where my mom and dad were raised Catholic, but the way that they were raised was very traumatic, and it kind of was like not a good experience. They went to Catholic schools, nuns hit them, and it was a whole thing. And so I grew up in a house that was very disconnected from spirit, very like science. We are disconnected from anything that we can't like see and explain and like have lots of data on, because they had, I think, such a terrible experience with their own spirituality. And I felt like for a really long time, I was always looking for grounding, like if that makes sense. Like I always felt like I kind of like knew who I was-ish, but like I felt like I was like free floating. And then I started to really discover the grounding that happens when you tap into just listening to yourself, trusting that there's something happening, and really recognizing that it can be a great source of inspiration and hope and healing, and it's a vital part of being a soul wrapped in this like meat sack, like having a human experience.
Yes.
We have to like recognize that there is a soul in there and that we have to nourish that shit. Otherwise, it is not going to be good for anybody.
Exactly. Get to know it, nourish it, water it, do what you got to do. As long as you're happy and you're in alignment with your true self, that's when these things start to really come up. But yeah, I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
completely. And I know your parents are Cuban, right?
They are, and I actually wanted to talk to you about this because something I've really loved recently diving into is ancestral healing and ancestral magic and religion. And I come from, you know, way back in my lineage, Spain and France, but most recently Cuba. And so there's a lot of Taino in my family, which is the Afro-Caribbean, you know, Cuban blood and the native blood. And I've been really diving into like exploring all of that ancestral spiritualism. And you had mentioned that you do African spiritualism. And I thought that was just so fucking rad. And I can't believe I've never even really like heard of it or whatever, you know, you might say, but I want like talk to us about that. Like what is it that you study and that you're embodying and that drives your connection to source and spirit?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I do practice basic like African spirituality, and it really builds upon the foundation of ancestor veneration and really feeding the spirits of your ancestors so that they guide you in this lifetime. I'm not specifically initiated into anything yet, but I was on the road before Corona. I was on the road to get initiated. To get initiated, a lot of times you have to go to Nigeria or you have to go to Africa or Cuba. But yeah, so African spirituality is so beautiful, and it's interesting because the base that I practice it on, which is ancestor veneration, is actually so prevalent in so many cultures. So it's not just African.
It's definitely in Hispanic culture. You know, we have altars for our relatives.
Asian, everywhere. Yeah. Chinese, Indian, a lot of different. So it's the belief that the spirits of your ancestors and your spirit guides live and walk with you. So knowing that, you have a specific space in your home where you dedicate to them, and you feed them in a lot of ways, with food, with water, and things like that. Just like how you would go to a grave and leave flowers, you would do that for your spirits inside your house. And you know, I teach on my Patreon how to basically develop the connection, to facilitate the connection, and to strengthen the connection. So, yeah, it's a very beautiful experience. African spirituality is a whole bunch of different branches. There's Ifa, Isheshe, Palo. There's a whole bunch of different branches. Santeria, of course.
I have Santerias in my family.
Yes,
powerful women, and I'm a little scared of my.
Yes, they rule the world.
It's amazing. Oh, what's your Patreon, guys? Join her Patreon community. It's insanely valuable. She just does like so much, and even in my coaching, I was like, "Are you sure you want to do this and only charge what you're charging?" She was adamant that like it be this price, that this felt aligned for her, and she's just giving you guys tremendous value. So what is your Patreon for Mom Spaghetti? Yeah,
Mom Spaghetti. My Patreon is Your Spiritual Mermaid. It's all in my bio, in the link in my bio.
Yeah, go check out the link in her bio to sign up for that. But let me quickly go up really quick because I think we had a question from Jenny Audition. Sorry if I mispronounced that. She asked, I've been channeling the past few months for the first time, and it's been self-doubting, but randomly opened this live, and now I know why. Thanks, ladies. Okay, that's not a question, but hey, Jenny, sorry. Yeah, everything happens for a reason, right?
Always. Someone asked, how'd you pick your name? I don't know if they're asking you, Gabby, or me.
You, probably.
Me. So I can talk about that really quick. So ever since I was a kid, when I was like a little kid, like my favorite Disney movie was Little Mermaid. Like I was obsessed, and everything in my room has always been mermaid and ocean and things like that. And then when I started getting on social media in middle school, mermaid queen, mermaid this, mermaid that, that was just me. To a point where my mom actually got a huge mermaid tattoo to symbolize me a couple of years ago.
That is support.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I love the ocean. Like I love the ocean. that's like in water is where I feel the most calm. And it's just always been a big part of my life. So when I started this, I was like, it only makes sense for me to be your spiritual mermaid, I guess. And it's very beautiful because when I see other readers and when I see other people in this field, they look at me and they're like, you are water. And I'm just like, I really feel like water embodies my essence. And yeah, so that's basically how I got that name.
I love that.
But yeah,
it's like such a juicy story, and I love that it honors like where you've been, like your history, really who you are at your core.
Yeah.
And to me, the ocean is totally. I'm so connected to the ocean too. I mean, I literally had to move like walking distance because I was like my whole life I felt like I'm more at home in the water than I have on land. If that makes sense. Like weird.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's so interesting because I think there's so much magic in the ocean, and when I was getting my
so much healing,
read,
so
like,
much magic.
They were saying that, yeah, there's so much healing in the ocean and magic and alchemization and so yeah, I totally feel that. I definitely feel the water vibes.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes. Yeah, actually, I wanted to touch on one more thing because you asked about African spirituality.
Oh yeah.
I did want to say for anyone who's interested in African spirituality, please take your time to study the orishas, study the water spirits, study all those things. Okay, if you really want to get into this is a lifelong commitment, and which is why it's taken me over a year to really try to commit to one specific sect. So that's what I really wanted to say with that. That's very important. But you start with ancestor veneration, you start with learning your own lineage, you start to really learn yourself, and then you go from there. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Are there any, like, because Lexi was just asking in the comments, like, where should we start if you want to get into ancestral work, especially when you are of African descent? Are there any, like, books or leaders or people that we can start looking at that you can recommend?
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Yes. Little Juju podcast. If you are not listening to the Little Juju podcast, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I just have to shout her out. She is amazing. She has, I think, honestly, the biggest African spirituality podcast on all platforms. I think she actually just won an award at iHeartRadio. But she actually has a whole bunch of different podcasts with different priests from African spiritual religions on talking about their specific sect that they got initiated into. So I would say, just read and study and do the podcast, but also finding the soul path to the Orisha, which is one of the really good books that I started off with, is a really good one. And you can honestly just start off with YouTube. You trace down your ancestry. You trace down your ancestry from your mother's line, but you can do your father's line as well. But you really try to figure out where your people are from, and then from there, I looked up, because my dad is from Trinidad, so I looked up Trinidad Orisha, Trinidad African spirituality practices on YouTube. Plenty of documentaries. Okay, Shango Baptist, if anybody is Trinidadian up in here, that is super super prevalent in Trinidad. Shango is one of the Orishas. So yeah, so you really start off with learning your own ancestry. Thank you, Adele, for saying that. She pinned Juju's podcast.
Oh yes, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but yes, you start off with learning your own ancestral line, and then you go from there, and you really start to do the research of the indigenous spiritual practices of your people. And if it's hard, because I know it is a privilege to be Black and know where your people are from because of slavery. So if you don't know, I would say just continue to have those conversations with your family, continue to have those conversations, with your line, and just see the spiritual traditions that you have. And there's nothing wrong with the spiritual tradition just being the church, because there's a lot of African spiritual practices that have intertwined with Catholicism and a whole bunch of other, Christianity. So just ask questions and do your research on your own family, and that's how you really get started with it. But yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you for that. I think you make a very good point, and a point that, people may not talk about often, which is that you may not know where you're from because of slavery.
Yeah.
And that's
it's a privilege.
Yeah, it is definitely a privilege to know where you're from, but I mean, it shouldn't have to be, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. So tap into your family, really do your research, see if there's, if you can do, I don't know if this is helpful, like the DNA test now, the spit test kind of show you, don't know if it's really that accurate or how, they work, but there's so many different ways to dive into it, and then just like keep digging, right? Like just keep digging.
Yes, just keep digging and do your research, and also just feel for what you're being pulled towards. You know, like what do you like the water? Do you like the ocean? Maybe it's Mami Wata. You know, that's a whole different African spiritual religion. You know, Yamaya. I know someone just mentioned Yamaya over here. So just see what you're pulled into. You know, do you love the rain? Oh yeah, you know. The river, Oshun, you know, things like that. You really have to tap into yourself, tap into your family, and then go from there. But yeah.
Wow, the comments are going off.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of comments.
Amazing. So this is resonating with you. So if you guys have questions for Elizabeth, I mean, she is an experienced person who has gone through a very deep journey, and probably not just one. And she is an expert in her field. So you guys, like, if you are and she coaches and mentors those of you budding into your gifts, which I think is like the most unique and incredible offering I've ever heard. She will walk you through awakening to your own gifts and your spirituality. And she's such a safe and warm place for you to land if you are really in your fear, or you're in your uncertainty, or it's something that feels scary. She makes it so accessible, and I just am so grateful for someone like you, because I wish I had kind of somebody like that when I was diving into my own work, because it can be really daunting, right? Just trying to figure it all out.
It can be really daunting. It can be really daunting. That's why I always say start with meditation, because listening to that inner voice is so key to going where you need to go. You know, being able to hear your inner voice through all the bullshit that we're thrown, that you're experiencing. Hearing your own voice is essential. That's how you move forward.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Oh, Lexi's saying that she felt very connected to the goddess Yamaya, and then found out through DNA test that that's where she's from.
Okay. Yes, Yamaja. I love Yamaja.
So yeah, tuning into really what you feel connected to and you feel pulled to is really the best way to start.
Yeah.
So in terms of, here we go. Oh, hey Alexa. Oh my God.
Hey Alexa. Alexa was in my group.
Our cohort, the same group as Elizabeth for the last round of Ignite. So she's asking, can you speak on cultural appropriation within spirituality? Thank you for this question. It's so fucking important.
Okay. It's a very delicate topic, because I know when we get into spirituality, a lot of people just want to do anything for self-improvement. They want to do anything to better their lives, and they don't really see the harm that cultural appropriation can do, such as, you know, using sage if you're not indigenous. Those kind of things are very touchy, and that's why I always emphasize really looking up your own ancestral line and doing research, and maybe even getting a DNA test, or just asking questions and things like that. That's going to be able to clear these things up, because we have to realize that the reason why a lot of these people are gatekeeping these religions, or gatekeeping and not, you know, wanting to share things like sage, or not wanting to share their sacred practices, is because indigenous people for thousands of years have been persecuted and killed because they've been practicing their indigenous religions. So we have to understand that there's a lot of respect that comes with these things, because so many people have lost their lives to it. So that's why it's really essential for you to really look at your own lineage. And everyone has spiritual practices. Doesn't matter if you're from Ireland, Nigeria, Trinidad, Brazil. You have your own spiritual. Listen, my friend who's Russian, her grandmother made her own tarot cards. She created each one, and she has them in a little box, and she reads the family. Okay, those things are very sacred. That's why you have to really ask questions and go on your own ancestral line. So, cultural appropriation, it's
don't be lazy. Do your work. Really be mindful. Put intention, because it's just, it's really deep, and it's really layered, and you don't want to be disrespecting anybody. It's really just we're over this now. We're not doing that anymore.
Yes, and the thing is, you're not just disrespecting one person, you're disrespecting a whole lineage. So we don't want to get into that. You know, there's a lot of other things. Yes, very bad things. But you know, every culture is so beautiful. Like, please recognize the beauty in your own culture. It doesn't matter where you're from. You don't have to take sage. You don't have to take these things that are specific for different communities for you to be spiritual. Because you are a spiritual being to begin with. Anything that you do that you consider sacred is your spirituality. Does that make sense? So that's why you really have to start with yourself and then start with your ancestry.
And I think, yeah, absolutely. That's so important. And I was just in my classes for my doctoral program this weekend, and we were talking about uh, the fact that sometimes white people don't feel like we have culture, or that there's a culture for white people. And it actually is like, look at your lineage. There are indigenous, or there are native practices in every land.
Yes.
You know, and
yes.
no matter what you look like or where your blood is from, I know, for example, I love the Irish like witch lore and like Celtic traditions.
Celtic, yeah.
Oh,
serious tradition going on over there.
You guys got your shit. Just go look for it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be what other people do or what you think is like a good choice. Like, go and like figure out where you're connected to your spirituality, where your roots are, because that's what's going to be the most aligned for your practice.
And I think it's so funny because when I was growing up, because my mom is white, well, she's not white and Native American, but like when I was growing up, you know, my grandparents' first language was French. Like, they have very strong culture. So it's like when I hear people say they like white people don't have culture, I'm like, that's so not true. Like, you just need to look down your family line, you know what I'm saying? And like, even just with spirituality on my mom's side, my grandmother has a huge wall of just angels, angel statues, angel things. So you know what I started with? I started with connecting with the archangels when I started becoming spiritual. I started studying the 7 archangels, and I started doing meditations to bring them in and for them to protect me and things like that. And I was really studying really hard the angels. So that's a very beautiful form of spirituality in itself, like really learning the archangels. So that's an example of, you know, going with your ancestral line and seeing what your family, you know, has worshipped or really practiced, and then moving on from there. But yeah, gosh, that was such a beautiful experience. Yeah, I love the archangels. I still work with the archangels. They're amazing.
How do you work with them?
Okay, so first of all, you have to learn all about them. You have to learn all about them. You have to do your research. And then I was doing a whole bunch of, I was listening to podcasts on the angels, and then I was doing meditations like on YouTube that would bring the angels in. And I had this experience one time. I'll just go ahead and say it, whatever.
Yes, I love these stories.
I'm going to get my agua fresca, and I am about to listen.
Yes. But yeah, so I was doing that. I was doing angel work for weeks, for months, honestly. And I had this experience when I was meditating on my bed. And at the apartment I was in, it was like very sunny in the room. And I opened my eyes and I saw, like with my mind's eye, but like also in person, like I saw and I felt it, an archangel. It was huge. It was from the ground to the ceiling. It was just like this huge presence, and the vibration coming from it was just, I couldn't stop crying, and I couldn't stop just like being gratitude, and it was just an amazing experience. And when you really get to that level of meditation to where you're able to sense other beings and the things in like different dimensions, it's beautiful. So you work with them by, you know, praying, by learning about them. And you know, there's plenty of candles. You go to a botanica anywhere, there's plenty of Archangel Michael, everything, you know, all those things. So yeah, candles, learning the Bible, look into the Bible, look into different works with the angels. And I also looked up, there's like things on Spotify where you can really listen to what days of the week the archangels correlate to and things like that, and just learn, just study. Not enough people study anymore. Like, just
it's like, you don't just wake up and you know these things. Like, it's like going to school and learning about these practices and the history and the culture and everything behind it, so that you really know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And I'm so curious because now I've seen a couple of your live readings and I get full body chills every time. It's like, it's really just, you guys have to check her out. I don't really know how to describe it other than to say it's just like a magical experience to watch her at work. I'm so curious personally, like what happens for you when you do like a reading like that? Like what goes through you? How do you what's that experience? I guess I'm just so fascinated because it feels like a powerful vibration. Like I don't even, it's out of this world.
Yeah. It's hard to explain because it's a lot going on. So basically, the first thing I do is I say a protection mantra usually, and I block all negative energies from all realms and dimensions, all space and time, and I say this whole thing that I learned a couple of years ago, and that really sets the boundary for where I'm at, so that whatever comes in and chooses to speak through me is benevolent. So when I really set the portal and set the intention to channel for somebody, when I get into that mindset, it's in my mind, and I could almost see it in front of me, like different visions, pictures, and I hear different words, or I'll see different colors. So a lot of times with my clients, I'll sense, like, another example is like my client, like last week, she didn't even give me a background. She's like, okay, let's just start the reading. I was like, okay. And then when I closed my eyes, I was seeing the top of her head, and I was seeing purple, and I was like seeing like kind of like a dull purple. I'm like, you've been having trouble sleeping lately because this, and this. And she was like, yeah, I have. And I was like, well, this is what you need to do. And I knew that because I studied the chakras. Purple is the crown chakra. And a lot of times when your crown chakra is off, you'll have bad dreams, you have trouble sleeping and things like that. Your head isn't clean, your head spirit, the spirit that rules your head. So I was really seeing that for her. So it's like I'll see these pictures, I'll see colors, I'll hear words, or I'll see like a complete, like a long scenario of what's going on. So yeah, it just comes in. It's hard to explain.
Well, it
like
sounds
today
like it's
I was
almost like you've emptied out your ego, like your own self, and you've like you're this vessel, and that it's like almost like you're getting like information from all of these different areas at the same time that are kind of, you found a way to kind of like understand and interpret really fast. Like it's an automatic process. It's like all this information.
I noticed that. I noticed it's really fast.
Like, yeah. It's like okay, like Elizabeth has like stepped out. She like nice and like stepped out. And then it's like, and it's like all this stuff gets like interpreted so fast. And I see the people in the comments being like, oh my God, this is so real for me. This is so connected. And it's so powerful, but that makes sense. I mean, it's information input that you're hypersensitive to from different, that we may not be like as sensitive to, that you're then interpreting and translating essentially. Simultaneous processing. My mom comes to every one of my lives, by the way.
Oh, hey mom.
Yeah, simultaneous processing, she said, which that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I'm starting to realize, I thought everybody could do that. I'm starting to realize that it is really fast.
I'm fucking dead. No, everybody can't do that. I mean, maybe we can if we like meditate long enough. But I think you have a gift that you have very, very deep access to, and it's very clear. Like I can't, it's amazing. I just love watching you work.
I think that it is so fast because I've spent so much time meditating. It doesn't take me long to get into that headspace of channeling. I think that's what it is. I can't tell you how many hours I spent in the temple in silence meditating when I was younger. So it's like I kind of just put myself back into that space of silence.
Yeah.
And then I just hear it. It's like when I silence my mind and when I'm able to really tell my mind, okay, let's stop talking, I'm able to see and hear what's going on. But yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and it's something interesting too, because like, okay, so for those of you who don't know, Elizabeth and I really jam out because we also both come from a science background.
Yep.
So she has a degree in neuroscience. Am I
Yes,
correct?
I have a degree in integrative neuroscience.
Integrative neuroscience, okay, like talk about like a match made in heaven. And it's like, I don't know if you've read like any of the research that they've done around meditation, but they're really discovering it unlocks like certain parts of the brain that we don't access on a regular basis. It unlocks potential that we don't know what that potential is even for. It changes your brain waves. I mean, it totally changes them. It leaves you open to sensing things that are not necessarily maybe from this plane. And so it's really interesting that there is some science, like there's it's not there yet. We don't know, we haven't found clear answers to all of this yet, but this is there's something there. We're aware of it. The power of meditation seems to be the key, the access point to really amplifying and expanding ourselves and our consciousness. So yeah, I guys, meditate.
Please. That is the key. And I also want to say meditation is not just sitting down and going and being silent. You know, meditation is anything you do intentionally. Okay, anytime that you clear your mind to do one specific thing. When I did the retreats at the temple, we would do walking meditations all the time. We do like all kinds of different meditations all the time, painting meditations, anything that you do that you're really just focusing on one thing and being present without having 10,000 tabs open, that is meditation with intention. Okay, so running, even working out, you know, yoga, prayer,
playing music.
Yes, music. I get a lot of messages when I'm washing the dishes because I'm not thinking about it.
Cleaning is such a meditation.
Yes.
And it's like you clean your space, you clean your mind. Also, it kind of feels like.
Was it cleanliness is next to godliness?
Yes, there we go.
That's what it is.
Someone said it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, this is such a fun conversation. If you guys have any more questions for Elizabeth, like, let us know. But yeah, so in terms of when we started working together, you are how old, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 24.
What? And this girl has a full business, like a full business, and she's going to school, and Lexi's washing the dishes right now.
Yes, get messages. Come on, Lexi.
And Venom Beauty in the shower. Oh, in the shower, I get downloads too for water, right? Water.
Yes, water. Yes.
Water.
Ooh, yeah. So let's talk about something that I think we should talk about is really stepping into your power when it comes to owning a business that's spiritually based.
Yeah. And
because
I feel like you can talk about this because like I come from psychology and I come from like definitely mental health, but when it comes to this is your definitely zone of genius.
Well, your program helped me so much when it comes to stepping into this, though.
I'm so glad.
Yes, of course.
I never like to take any credit, but I'm really glad you feel that way because I did see you really like expand in such because you were just on Twitter and then you jumped onto Instagram and then this voice like exploded after we did some inner work and stuff during the program.
The inner work. The inner work. Oh goodness. Honestly, I would do the whole program again just to work with you, like the therapy wise, because for y'all who are interested, I don't know, you're saying you're not doing the Ignite program anymore. You're doing the other tiers more.
No, I'm doing the same program you were in. Just
okay,
like
cool.
We're running it again. Yeah.
Yes, but for anyone who's interested, it's a fully integrated experience, not just business. It's also just very personal and building yourself to be able to see yourself in that position to begin with. You know, and I think that really helped me really claim and own my power. So when it comes to owning a spiritually based business, you know, you have to understand that everything is energy. Money is energy. What you give to other people is energy. Whatever you're giving, like gift wise, whether it be coaching, readings, and things like all this is energy. And the universe is always working to be in balance when it comes to energy. Okay, so when I see a lot of tarot readers or spiritual readers in general, you know, charge like $1 for a card pull, it's like you're almost working against the balance of the universe, especially if you're doing so much for somebody and not getting anything in return. And if you're connected with your ancestors are gonna curse you out. Okay,
they're like, what are you doing?
Listen, it was like for months, every reading that I received was like, your prices need to be higher. Why? what's going on. Like literally, because they see, and spirit sees, the divine sees how much energy and how much work you're putting into this. Okay. Would you charge $1 for a painting you worked a year on? You think about all the things that you've learned, all the skills and the tools that you've gained over the years, over the months that you've built yourself up. You have to really see yourself for the value that you have.
Yeah.
So when it comes to having a spiritual business, you have to look at the energy that you're giving to other people, and you have to really define what you're giving. So for me, it's always like guidance, clarity, healing. Okay. And for this, in return, I don't say I want money in return. In return, I want freedom and an equal compensation for my energy.
Yep.
So in this capitalist world, you know, freedom does equal money. So then I charge accordingly, you know, for what I'm giving. So you really have to think about it like that, and think about how the universe is always in balance. So if you're a spiritualist and you're modest and you're doing everything for free, I'm not saying you can't give things for free. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when you're really working intensively with the client one-on-one, tapping into their energy, giving them advice, giving them healing, okay? And if they walk away and you are left with nothing, if you continue to do that, you're just going to deplete yourself, because you're going in the opposite way of balance. You're imbalancing the whole. Okay.
This is hitting home with everybody. And Kelly, I see you, Espino. Yeah, it makes so much sense. She loves this. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really like, we have to start reframing the way that we we value our healers. We value our people who have the gifts that we don't have. Like, Jesus Lord, I got my Akashic records read, and it was like, take all my money. I will go back.
I need to get mine read.
Oh my God, the clarity, the connection, the knowledge, the wisdom, like, it's just like, I was shaken. And my whole body, my physical body, I felt like I was hit by a train. Because she's like, okay, they're gonna give you these downloads right now. Like, are you ready? And I was like, okay. And I honestly was like, of course, like, I'm going into it a little skeptical, but hopefully very more open than skeptical, but always like, you know, in ear open. I had to cancel. Like, I had to cancel 2 days of class.
Really? You were hit?
I felt like I had run a fucking marathon, and my body for about 24 hours vibrated everywhere. It was $333 for this hour reading. I would have given her $1,000. The energy that I received, the value I received from this was so intense and dramatic. Like, take it. Like,
really?
Yeah, 100%. And so you guys, if you're sitting there saying, I don't know if my gifts are valuable, remember, like, also, you have somebody who's going through something internally, and whether they present it or not in their face, or you see them, or you whatever, you're giving them something very profound. And what they, you know, whether they say it or not, they probably would give you more than you're charging, because what they're getting out of it from your energetic exchange is that powerful. They don't want to devalue that. You know, they feel weird about that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and we also have to remember, like, people want to be modest in things and spiritual practices. We have to remember that through thousands and hundreds of years, healers were always taken care of in the community. Maybe it wasn't money, like physical money, but it was food, it was shelter, it was something. There's almost never a time where you just don't give anything at all in return for an enormous amount of healing.
Yeah.
So now that we shifted into more this paradigm and this timeline, we have to understand that money is the flow of energy. Now, I'm all for bartering, though. I bartered.
Oh, me too.
My photo shoot that I did, that's all my pictures on my website, that was in exchange for a reading. And I have used those pictures for over a year. So doing those services like that is also very helpful. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that. But yeah, that's amazing. I need to get your Akashic Records person, because wow.
I'll send it to you right after this. She is... I just canceled like 2 or 3 days after. Cancel it, whatever you have going on, because it is really profound. And I'm gonna do a podcast episode about it.
Please do.
I've been like waiting about a month to even record it, because I had to write down like my own process and like let things settle for a little bit, because it was just that upending. But I am absolutely going to be doing that. If you guys are interested in the person I saw for the Akashic Records, just DM me. I see Kelly, you see you're interested. I definitely don't give her name out to like everybody, but if you're definitely feeling called to have your records read and you feel like you're in the space that you are like ready to step into it, I'm so happy to give you her information. She's amazing. And she does it virtually, so you don't have to go to her office.
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah. I literally, like, she gives you the choice to do it over Zoom or on your earbuds and or earphones, and like I just did it over the earphones, and it was like, it was out of control. It was amazing. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful energy exchange.
Oh yeah. And yeah, Lexi's blowing it. I love you, Lexi. Yeah, it's a different perspective to really look at money as energy, and I really don't think that we talk enough about this in this frame, because it's not the way we see it, but it's energy, and you can amplify so much with it, you know. And why shouldn't you, if you're going to be taking care of other people, holding space for other people, you know, taking on their energy or reading or channeling, why shouldn't you be really well taken care of? Don't the people that you care for, don't they want you to be well taken care of too, so that you can continue to show up for them?
Yep.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So you have a couple of different offerings and different things that you do, and I love the way that you've turned your gifts into like different kinds of services to help like all different kinds of people with different things. So I know you have like your oils, you have like physical products, which is awesome. You also have your Patreon, which is like an incredibly accessible, affordable option with tons of value. You have your Instagram, you have your Twitter, you have IGTV, and then you have your one-to-one coaching offering. So I definitely want to know, and I want you to share a little bit about kind of how you've structured your business around your gifts, so that maybe people can get an idea of maybe how to translate theirs.
Okay. So because I'm a channel, I always knew video chat was the way to go. So with that being said, then you have to like put a value on how valuable you think your time is.
Mm-hmm.
So then I kind of just went with $1 a minute for a while, but now I'm at the price that I'm at. But that's how I kind of structured it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But with readings, this is a really hard question, honestly, because I was just kind of doing things. I didn't think about it very hard.
Well, you were, I think what I saw happen, at least when I saw you creating the Patreon, you were like, look, I feel I'm being told that this is what I have to create.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, are you sure you don't want to start off with one-to-one coaching? I think it's like an easier way to get into it. You're going to get more income. It's going to be a little bit like safer. And you're like, no. I got to do this. I got to make this. And I was like, okay, like, you know, okay, let's launch it. And it was like hugely successful. And I've noticed that you just channel. You're like, okay, this is what I need to do this week. All right. And then you create it and you show up. So you guys, like, tune in again, like sit, meditate, figure out like what it is that you really want to share. And then think about it in those terms. Like if you're feeling called to create a space or a community or something like that, like follow that, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I think specifically with the Patreon, I think the reason why I really wanted to do that was because I'm really big on community.
Yeah.
I'm really big on community, and I'm really big on creating a web, and I'm really big on us moving as one organism. Okay. So like, I really wanted an accessible platform that we can connect with each other, because in a safe space, because a lot of people who are in the spiritual journey, they feel alone. They feel alone, or they're losing friends because they're becoming more spiritual, or they're growing out of their old selves and stepping into their new. So I really wanted to create a space and a safe space for people to really just be themselves, ask questions, and learn. And we do a lot of Zooms together. We talk a lot. You know, we do workshops together. We have all kinds of stuff going on. So it's like, it's kind of like its own social media where you get to know the people who are within the little platform in the group. So that was really important to me to really facilitate. And I really don't see it being something that I have, if that makes sense. I really see it as something that Spirit is like orchestrating. Yeah, I really do, because in my intro video, if you go on my Patreon, that's like, you can watch it regardless if you subscribe or not. I really talk about, this isn't about me. This isn't about me. This is about creating a community. And, you know, honestly, that's why I love New Orleans so much, and the scene, the spiritual scene in New Orleans, because as soon as I got here, the community for spirituality was big. It was visible. It was amazing. Now, of course, there's some things that you should and shouldn't do, but at the same time, you know, use your discernment, make friends, and create that web.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, someone's like, they love your Patreon.
Yes, I love her. I was wearing her jewelry today. Love her. Yeah.
I love this. And I think it's so amazing that social media can provide this connection to other people that are leading the way, showing you like, hey, these are practices you can do. This is how you can step into this. This is, you guys want to start learning, go join her Patreon. Like, don't even forget all the videos. She was like, go YouTube, go to her Patreon. like, learn from her, because she knows so much stuff. And amazing. And if you guys have any questions about her journey in the Ignite program, she just went through the Ignite program in the last round. She launched her Patreon. She launched her one-to-one coaching. She also came in with like an incredible product line that we really talked about and organized in terms of like getting like launches and marketing out there as well. And she's been serving her clients and her community in a huge way. And it's just been wonderful watching you just everywhere, just fucking kill it. I see your stuff reposted all the time, and I'm like, like bro, sister or whatever.
I don't even know why. It's so interesting when I see that, like the progression ever since I really just owned my voice and stopped caring is really crazy. It's really crazy. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
I've been getting the question a lot of like how I get confidence to go on lives a lot. And on top of like the fact that I was in talented drama through elementary school through high school, so it was very easy for me to be on stage. But other than that, I think really just knowing yourself and knowing how valuable you are and having the confidence to step forward makes all the difference. People can sense your energy when you get on live, when you make posts, anything, okay? People can sense really genuine energy. So if you get on live and you really are just authentic, people are drawn to that authentic energy. So I think you really go from there. Oh, Rebecca. I think you can really go from there when you're trying to build your confidence and really going forward with building a business. You have to own your own authenticity, and you cannot try to model yourself after anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly, I think, is agreeing with us. Yes.
We're in the paper certifications. Yes. Seeing the, yes. And it's crazy. And that's something that me and Gabby could speak on as well, because we're in higher education. So
yeah, like we both are getting our higher education, our degrees. We're in the sciences. Like we're very like you can like I don't understand why we have to have like a but or like a one or the other kind of thing. Guys, like the secret is that they both exist.
Yep.
It all exists together.
At the same time, all together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Truly. You can study everything and nothing. Like that's what actually that was a message today for somebody, was that you do not have to choose one or the other. You don't have to choose at all. You know, I started pursuing my master's, which I'm getting a master's in biomedical sciences. I've started pursuing that way after my spiritual enlightenment. So it's like you can do everything at once, and you'd be surprised. Some people on campus have asked me to cleanse their office. You'd be surprised how many people in this industry know what it is.
I think we talked about this. You guys, her podcast interview episode is coming out next week on the Conscious Leadership podcast. So I think we talked about this, that they're like scientists are spiritualists. Like they're just hiding. Yeah. We're just hiding, behind the data. But really what science is being really fucking curious about things we can't explain.
Yeah.
And trying to find answers to the things we can't explain, because there's stuff that we know, like we kind of know-ish. We see like connections, we see patterns, we see things like, whether we see them physically or actually sense them or whatever that might be. And then we go in and we're like, okay, let's test, but really that's spiritual, right? Like you're just trying to get grounded in what you already know is around you. So are they really separate? No. I think that there's this weird Western ideology that like they're totally like, they're against each other, but really they're kind of married. Like, you can't really have one without the other. And it's all based in curiosity,
Yeah, you can't. And you can't limit yourself. You cannot limit yourself. Like, we didn't come here to limit ourselves I think we need to understand that as a collective. We did not come here to limit ourselves. We came here to remember who we are. We came here to remember how powerful we are. And we came here to really recognize the synchronicity and the connectedness in all of this world. So you can believe everything at once. Don't let nobody tell you can't.
That.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, have any last pieces of advice, but I feel like that was a beautiful last piece of advice.
I know. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time and your love and your energy.
Thank you,
I just love having you in my life, and I'm sure I will continue to watch you grow and expand. And I love just seeing your stuff reposted by everybody I know. That just tickles me like every time.
Thank you, Gabby. I really appreciate you. Really helped me find my voice, and I really do appreciate the program. And it was truly aligned. So yes, I'm really grateful for this, and I'm really grateful for you.
Oh, I love you so much. And Lexi's like, I'm not ready for this to be over. I know. Well, we'll get on more. We'll definitely be talking more at some point. And guys, just because I feel like I have to, and don't mean to annoy you, but cart closes next week for Ignite.
Get on it.
Bunch of applications in already. Like, we're closing the cart on Thursday or on Wednesday. So like, get in your application. If this resonated for you, Elizabeth went through this process. Go talk to her, DM her, ask her any questions that you have. She really is incredible, and she comes from the spiritual space. It's a different space, a spiritual practitioner space, and you can make that into a really beautiful, fulfilling business that serves you, helps you serve 10 times more people, and then, change the world, right? Like, that's what we're all here to do.
Your power. Yeah. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.